5. Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam, text 20. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhava tadi swayam veda bhavamstatapite pradeshamatram bhavata pradarshitam. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhava tadi swayam veda bhavamstatapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhava tadi swayam veda bhavamstatapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam. Everyone can chant.
Hare Krishna. Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivaitaro yato jagadisthan nirodha sambhavaha tadhi swayam veda bhavan satathapite pradesha matram bhavatah pradarshitam.
Idam hi vishvam bhagavan ivetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhavaha tadadi swayam veda bhavam statapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam.
Hare Krishna. Idam hi visvam bhavani vetaro yato jagat asthani rodha sambhava tadadi swayam veda bhavan astapite pradesa matram bhavata pradasthitam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Idam hi vishvam bhagavan ivataro yato jagat stahana naradha sambhavaha tadi swayam veda bevam hapite pradashe matram bhavata pradarshitam. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana nirodha sambhava tadhi swayam veda bhavam satapete prastayesa matram bhavata pradarshitam. Hare Krishna.
Idam hi visvam bhagavan vetaro yato jagasthana nirodha sambhava tadhi swayam veda bhavam tathapite pradesamatram bhavata pradarshitam.
Idam hi vishwam bhagavan nivetaro yato jagasthana nirodha sambhava tadhi swayam veda bhavam stathapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarshitam.
Hare Krishna. Idam hi vishwam bhagwan ivetaro yato jagatasthan nirodh sambhavaha tadati swayam veda bhavan tathapi pradesh matram bhavataha pradarshitam. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Word for word translation. Idam, this. He, all. Vishwam, cosmos. Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. Iva, almost the same. Itara, different from. Yata, from whom. Jagat, the worlds. Stana, exist, nirodha, annihilation, sambhava, creation, tat he, all about, swayam, personally, veda, know, bhavan, your good self, tata api, still, te, unto you, pradeshamatram, a synopsis only, bhavata, unto you, pradarshitam, explained. Translation: the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This is a slightly longish purport. For a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, nothing is apart from him. Similarly, the part and parcel hands and legs are called the body, but the body as the whole unit is neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, cognition, and beauty. And thus the creation of the energy of the Lord appeals to be partially eternal, full of knowledge, and beautiful also. The captivated conditioned souls under the influence of the external energy Maya are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord, who is the primeval cause, nor have they information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord, Srila Vyasadeva, knows this very well. He is further advised by Srila Narada to expand the idea so that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause. According to the Vedic version, the Lord is naturally fully powerful, and thus his supreme energies are always perfect and identical with him. Both the spiritual and the material skies and their paraphernalia are emanations of the internal and external energies of the Lord. External energy is comparatively inferior, whereas the internal potency is superior. The superior energy is living force, and therefore she is completely identical. But the external energy, being inert, is partially identical. But both the energies are neither equal to nor greater than the Lord, who is the generator of all energies. Such energies are always under his control, exactly as electrical energy, however powerful it may be, is always under the control of the engineer. The human being and all other living beings are products of his internal energies. Thus, the living being is also identical with the Lord, but he is never equal or superior to the personality of Godhead. The Lord and living beings are all individual persons. With the help of the material energies, the living beings are also creating something, but none of their creations are equal or superior to the creations of the Lord. The human being may create a small playful Sputnik and may throw it into outer space, But that does not mean that he can create a planet like the earth or moon and float it on the air as the Lord does. Men with a poor fund of knowledge claim to be equal to the Lord. They are never equal to the Lord. This is never to be. The human being, after attaining complete perfection, may achieve a large percentage of the qualities of the Lord, say up to 78%, but it is never possible to surpass the Lord or to become equal with him. In a diseased condition only, the foolish being claims to be one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings, therefore, must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to him. For this they have been created. Without this, there cannot be any peace or tranquility in the world. Srila Vyasadeva is advised by Sri Narada to expand this idea in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same idea is explained. Surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only business of the perfect human being. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatstana niroda sambhava tadi swayam veda bhavam statapite pradeshamatram bhavata pradarshitam. The Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated, in him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shanivadi Pastada Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Thanks to everyone for showing up. This is truly an amazing verse, I must say. I say that every week. And I was actually thinking for a while, I was thinking, wow, it's so lucky every time when I get a chance to give class, just by chance or randomly or whatever, I get these amazing verses. And then I realize it's not that I'm getting, particular amazing verses. It's that every verse of the Bhagavatam is amazing. Lord Chaitanya says, Prati Shloka, Prati Akshara, Nana Artakai. And this is in the chapter where he's explaining the Atmaram verse. So there he finds so many meanings in every word. So he says, Prati Shloka, Prati Akshara, every verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and indeed every letter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nana Artakai, is full with so many unlimited deep meanings. So every verse, that's every verse of the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada explained, and I think this analogy is also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. They're just like when you have very tightly compressed cotton, and then you pick it apart. You take very tightly compressed wad of cotton and you start picking it apart and stretching it out and pulling out threads. That's how you study Bhagavatam or study something, that you start examining it and pulling it apart and looking at all the ideas and interrelations. So it's like unpacking compressed cotton. But having said that, I'll still maintain that this verse, today's verse, is a very special verse. It's always been actually a favorite of mine as a very deep and meaningful verse. And the main point drawn from it, of course, is Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Not only Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, but that this philosophical tattva concept is, or truth, is the framework or the foundation upon which the whole of Krishna consciousness is actually resting upon and constructed around this Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. So we'll get into that and develop that as we go on. First of all, in this verse, of course, first line, Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaro. Eva means like, and itara means the other. So Eva, itara, ivetara means like and the other, or like and unlike. So the Supreme Lord is like this universe, or Prabhupada what does he say in the word for word translation? He says almost the same. So he's one with the universe, he's different from the universe. Eva Itara, just like also in the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Anvayad Itaratas, Charteshwa Bigyasorat, that Anvayad, Krishna directly experiences and knows everything that's going on within this creation, and Itara, and the other, he also indirectly is aware of everything that's going on within the creation. So he's one, Krishna is one with this universe, and he's also different from or separate from the universe. So what's the nature of that relationship? Yato jagat sthana nirodha sambhava. That Yato jagat, this creation, this universe, Krishna is the sthana. He's the nirodha, and he's the sambhava. Sthana means the maintenance. He's maintaining this universe. Sthanam. Nirodha, he's the annihilation of this universe. And Sambhava, he's the creator of the universe. And of course, this is also referring back to the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya Yataha, that Krishna is the creation and the maintenance and the dissolution of this universe. So this is the basis of our understanding and beginning analysis of Achinta Beta Tattva, that the whole universe is created by him. It's maintained by him throughout its existence, and it's annihilated by him. And after the annihilation, those energies are also all withdrawn by him. Just like later on in the second chapter, there's a description describing the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Bhagavatam covers 10 topics, and many of those topics deal with this. Atra sargo visargascha stanam poshanam uttaya manvantare shanukata nirodha muktir ashraya. That these are the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. Sarga and visarga means the creation. Sarga means the creation, just like we'll remember at the beginning of a previous chapter, or was that 2 chapters ago, Krishna is the source of all incarnations, when we were discussing the Purusha avatars and how Mahavishnu comes, and from him all the universes are emanating from his body in seed form. So that's Sarga. And then later on, as Kirodakashai Vishnu and Lord Brahma comes from the lotus growing from his navel. And then under Lord Brahma's direction, all of the material elements are constructed, and the bodies and all the planets and universes and the bodies of the living entities are all constructed out of those material elements. That's Visarga. So Sarga, Visarga, the creation and the subcreation. Prabhupada used the word subcreation. Then Sthanam and Poshanam. He's maintaining and protecting the universe. And he's maintaining, when this is analyzed, he's maintaining and protecting not just the universe, but particularly he's maintaining and protecting his devotees. So Sthanam Poshanam Uttaya. Manvantari talks about the Manvantaras. Anukata, the Bhagavatam talks about kata of all the different incarnations and all the activities of Krishna, which is what Narada is recommending to Vyasadeva. And then finally, Nirodha Muktir Ashraya. These are the last 3 topics. Nirodha, the annihilation. So annihilation is also under Krishna's control. Mukti, liberation from the material world. And Ashraya, the final topic, is Lord Krishna himself, the shelter of all, the shelter of everything. So this is Krishna. He's one with and different from this creation. He's the source of the creation, the maintainer of the entire creation, and the ultimate cause of the destruction of the creation. Shrishti, Stiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shaktir, Eka. By Krishna's energies, Shaktir, Eka. Krishna is one, but by his energies, the Shrishti, Stiti, and Pralaya are all going on. So this is how Krishna is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of everything, because it's all simply the creation and the interaction of his energies. And by the principle of Shakti Matayor Abheda. There's no difference between the energy and the energetic source. And so many examples given: the sun and the sunlight. There's no difference between the sun and the sunlight, although there's also a difference. So many examples. So this is the nature of Krishna and his energies. Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ive Tara, that he's one with and he's different from. So let's also consider the placement of this particular verse. Narada Muni is instructing Vyasadeva that you need to exclusively focus on Krishna consciousness, on bhakti, on describing the pastimes of Krishna. And then in the past few verses, he's been talking about the value and the potency of devotional service, that someone who engages in devotional service, even if he falls down, even if he's not perfect, he's still protected. And it's so perfect, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, he's still not the same. People who are intelligent will take to devotional service. The happiness derived from it is superior. All of these descriptions are there. And then in the middle of that, he states this verse as if to remind us, yes, we have to hear about Krishna, appreciate Krishna, love Krishna, but this verse is reminding us that we have to understand Krishna. That if we have some faulty understanding, or if the world has some faulty understanding of what and who Krishna is, then hearing about it will not have the same effect. So he's interjecting here that in the middle of this devotional service, hearing about Krishna is so important. But don't forget, this is the nature of Krishna, that he's the source of everything. He's the maintainer of everything. And everything you see and everything we experience, and indeed ourselves, are part and parcel of Krishna's energy, one with Krishna, yet different from him. And actually this phrase that Prabhupada uses, part and parcel, is also very interesting. Part, yes, we're part of Krishna, but parcel means, just like when you get a parcel in the mail, a parcel means a package. It's a discrete package is a parcel. So we're part of Krishna, but we're not an amorphous part of Krishna that will just merge into Krishna without any distinction. We're a parcel, and we're eternally a parcel. We're eternally a distinct unit emanating from Krishna's energy. So this is part and parcel, and this is the context of this verse. And after this verse, Narada returns to glorifying Krishna and devotional service and the power of hearing and chanting about Krishna. So he's interjecting this just to make sure that we understand it properly, who Krishna is, what Krishna is. And not just here, but this constantly, this reminder is there that we have to understand Krishna properly. We have to understand this Achinta Beta Beta Tattva properly in order to understand Krishna, in order to worship Krishna, and in order to develop perfect love of Krishna. And therefore, all through the Bhagavatam and all through the Vedas, in fact, this philosophy of Achinta Beta Beta Tattva is, without mentioning it, mentioning it by that particular name, is brought up again and again and again. Some examples. Most famous example everyone's probably aware is in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, text 4 and 5. Mayam tattamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nacheham teshwavastitam. Krishna is saying, I pervade this entire universe, and all living beings in it are within me. And yet we're not the same, because in the next verse he says, "Nachamatstani bhutani," that these living beings are not in me. So this is, in ordinary logic, when you say something is X, and then you say something is not X, or something is this, or something is that, the opposite, this is illogical. Just like if I say this paper is white and this paper is black, it's contradictory. Therefore, this philosophy is known as Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. Achintya means inconceivable. And inconceivable doesn't mean that we can't think about it and discuss it and understand it to some degree, but it means that it's in one sense, it's trans-rational, or it's beyond ordinary logic and ordinary rationality. That something can't be something and also the opposite of that. But this is all resolved in Krishna, that he's one with and he's different. So again, in that Bhagavad Gita verse, all beings are in me, but all beings are not in me. I pervade the universe, but I don't pervade the universe. But I have nothing to do with this universe. So that's one example. Another example, this is a verse from the 4th canto, when Narada Muni, preaching to the Prachetas. So Narada Muni is again saying it so we can understand that, Narada Muni wants to establish this principle of Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, because he brings it up again. He says, just as the sunshine is non-different from the sun, the cosmic manifestation is also non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality is therefore all-pervasive within this material creation. When the senses are active, they appear to be part and parcel of the body. But when the body is asleep, their activities are unmanifest. Similarly, the whole cosmic creation appears different and yet non-different from the Supreme Person. And then again, Prahlad Maharaj, who is also a student of Narada Muni, when he's offering his prayers to pacify Lord Nrsingadev, he says, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the entire cosmic creation is caused by you, and the cosmic manifestation is an effect of your energy. Although the entire cosmos is but you alone, you keep yourself aloof from it. The conception of mine and yours is certainly a type of illusion, because everything is an emanation from you and is therefore non-different from you. Indeed, the cosmic manifestation is non-different from you, and the annihilation is caused by you. This relationship between your lordship and the cosmos is illustrated by the example of the seed and the tree, or the subtle cause and the gross manifestation. So this concept of Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, of simultaneously oneness and difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his energies, comes up again and again. And there's, Ishopanishad, it comes up in the other Upanishads and the Puranas. Repeatedly, this idea comes up. But just as in the current chapter we're working on, Srila Narada Muni is telling Srila Vyasadeva that yes, you made all of these Vedas and Puranas and Itihasas, and devotional services contained within those to some degree. It's implicit within all of those Vedic literatures, but you need to make it explicit. You need to specifically say and specifically focus on devotional service to Krishna. So in the same way, this Achintya Beta Beta Tattva is implicit within many parts of the Vedic literatures, but it was the specific gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he made this philosophy explicit. And many times Prabhupada has commented how this Achintya Beta Beta Tattva explicit conception is the gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he preached it and he made it so central, and we'll explore why it's so central to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we very strongly reject impersonalism, Mayavad philosophy, and rightly so, because it is wrong, in a sense wrong. It's grossly and subtly also very offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it destroys any chance for devotional service. When you deny duality, when you deny individuality, then there's no more master and servant, there's no more friend and friend, there's no more parent and child, there's no more lover and beloved, and devotional service becomes meaningless. So we rightfully deny and smash this philosophical aberration of Mayavad philosophy. And we celebrate acharyas like Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, in whose line Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose to appear. Very strongly, we celebrate, they're very strongly defying this Mayavad philosophy. Madhvacharya, he's pictured like this, holding up two fingers, saying there's duality, there's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. And the living entity is the servant, and the Supreme Lord is the master. Prabhupada would sometimes say that the Lord is Vibhu and the living entity is Anu. Vibhu means the great, the powerful, and Anu means the tiny, the atomic, the small. And yet we also accept oneness. From the very first line of today's purport, for a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. So Madhvacharya very strongly stressed the duality aspect, and rightly so. But we also accept the oneness, just like in the Madhvacharya line. As great as it is, and as perfect as it is, and this is not at all to cast any aspersion on Madhvacharya or the line of Madhvacharya, but they're not very stressful on spontaneous, intimate, emotional, loving, devotional service. Not very strong on that, because they stress the duality. Just like even if you look at the Madhvacharya tilak, it's tilak something like ours, and in the middle, there's a black line. And that black line is made of ashes from the fire sacrifice, from the yajna. Because this ritualistic ceremony of offering sacrifice is very important within their line. Whereas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, we don't have that black line. It's not that we don't do any sacrifice, we don't do any fire sacrifice, but it's not as central to us. The spontaneous devotional service, the intimate devotional service, like that of the Brijabasis, is more important to us. Or Madhvacharya also having problems with sometimes, for example, the pastimes of Brahma Vimohan Lila, where he didn't really appreciate very much the idea of Lord Brahma being bewildered by Lord Krishna, because they're stressing the duality and not stressing so much the oneness. So oneness doesn't mean absolute indistinguishable oneness. It means a oneness in nature, a oneness in quality, a oneness of sympathy between the Lord and his devotees. And that oneness is what allows the greater intimacy between the Lord and his devotees. Just like in normal life, when there's a family, there's a oneness. The family is one. Me and my family, I'm, excuse me, I'm Mr. Podlovsky. I'm a Podlovsky. And my wife is Mrs. Podlovsky, and my son is Rajakrishna Podlovsky. So we're one. We're all one Podlovsky clan. There's a oneness in the family. Or in the country, people are very proud. I'm an American, yay, yay Americans. Or I'm an Indian, yeah, Indians. We're all one. The problem is when there's this sense of oneness or this sense of community based on material qualities, it often develops and manifests in a very distorted way. I love my family and other families can go to hell. I love my country and other countries can go to hell. Or even, I love humanity, but kill the animals. So this is the distorted aspect of oneness, but in spiritual life, because everything, literally everything, is one with Krishna. Therefore, that's the most perfect conception of oneness, with no prejudice and discrimination, without bigotry, without doing good to one group and doing ill to another group, because we're all one in the sense of being Krishna, related to Krishna. So this is the real intimacy in Krishna consciousness with every living being, and especially with Krishna himself. So this oneness allows, the duality allows the conception of devotional service, that Krishna is my master and I'm the servant. And the oneness allows the intimacy and the sense of deep, deep love and service and association with Krishna. So that's why it's so key, so important in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. One example, as usual in devotional service, the best example is Radharani, Radhika herself. Although she's not a jiva like us, but still she's also expansion of Krishna's energy. And Radha says about herself that she's one with Krishna, that she always knows Krishna's mind perfectly. She understands Krishna perfectly. Just like in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's book, Prema Samputa, describes a nice pastime of Radha and Krishna, where Krishna goes to visit Radharani in disguise. And in one sense, she doesn't know who it is because Krishna is in disguise. But in another sense, she asserts her oneness with Krishna because their love is so deep and their nature is so deep as one. Jiva Goswami explains that Radha and Krishna are like a single lotus plant growing in the lake that sends up two separate flower buds, one shaman color and one golden color. So they're manifesting as two, but they're actually one. This is Krishna and Krishna's energy. They're two and they're one. And this is that great verse, the verse that I couldn't remember a few weeks ago before the appearance of Radhastami, that Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmat, that the pastimes of Radha Krishna are pure, spiritual, blissful manifestation, completely pure, completely spiritual, and manifestation of the Ladini Shakti, of Krishna's pleasure potency. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmat, Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Bhuva Pura Deha Bedam Gatoto. That this energy is one, Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Pura, but Deha Bedam Gatoto. But those one, that one energy, that one blissful supreme entity is manifesting Deha Bedam, is manifesting in two forms as Radha and Krishna for the purpose of their loving affairs and loving exchange. Deha Bedam Gatoto. Then Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Aduna Tadvayam Chaikyam Aptam. And those two are again becoming one, manifesting as one in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's the one, and it's becoming two, and it's becoming one, and it's becoming two, and it's becoming one. So this is a best example of Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. It's two, it's one, it's two, it's one. It's both. And it's inconceivably both. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is one, and Radha and Krishna are two, but they're the same, just manifesting differently, all for the purpose of Krishna's loving pastimes. This is the perfect integration of oneness and duality. And therefore, this is, not surprisingly, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift, this Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, which enables the type of devotional service that Lord Chaitanya came to teach. He came to teach this loving, intimate, spontaneous love of the Brijavasis. And that requires this oneness and difference to perfectly understand it, to perfectly practice it. So this Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, I said it's implicit in all of the Vedas, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it explicit. He didn't, as far as I know, he didn't specifically use the term Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, although he did say, what's that? Jiver Sarupahai Krishner Nityadas. Jiver Sarupahai Krishner Nityadas. What's that? Beta Beta Prakash. To Jiver Tatashta Shakti Beta Beta Prakash. So he said Beta Beta, that the living entity is his eternal nature is to be the servant of Krishna. Why? Because Tatashta Shakti, Beta Beta Prakash. He's Tatashta Shakti. Tatashta means on the line, on the margin. Just like Yamuna Tata. There are songs where it talks about Krishna on Yamuna Tata. Tata means the line, it means the shore. or the line, the division between the river and the riverbank. So that's tata, the line. And that division, that line, can be underwater or it can be exposed. So this is the Tatashta Shakti. This is us. We're Krishna's energy. We're directly spiritual energy of the same nature as Krishna himself. Krishna Shakti. Krishna Shakti Para Prokta. Shekta Yakya Tatak Para. That Krishna has his internal spiritual energies, and the jivas, the living entities, are also tatak para. They're also as spiritual, as pure as Krishna energy, as Krishna's personal energy. But because we're tatashta, we're on this marginal position. So we're beta bed prakash. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said beta bed prakash. We're one with and we're different. And the actual phrase, as far as I can determine at least, was of Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, was formulated by Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas. He says, let's see. In his Paramatma Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami is explaining, he's recounting a conversation from the Vishnu Purana, where Maitreya is speaking to Parasara Muni. And he says, I don't understand it. Krishna is so completely pure and completely spiritual without the least trace of any material contamination or material existence in him. So I have doubts that he actually has anything to do with this material world at all. And Parashamuni responds, explaining about Krishna manifesting through his energies, which are one with and different from him, and everything is going on. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate, Prabhupada would often quote, that everything is going on through Krishna's energies. And in this way, Krishna's oneness and intimate connection with the universe, and at the same time, Krishna's complete purity and complete transcendental nature is also preserved. So this is the beauty of this. And in connection with that, after another long discussion about the relationship between Krishna and Krishna's energies, Srila Jiva Goswami himself says, in his own commentary on his own Paramatma Sandarbha, he says, Swamate Swatintya Beda Beda Eva Chintya Shakti Maya Twad. So here he says the actual phrase Achinta Beda Beda. And a rough translation of that is that he says, my opinion is that Achinta Beda Beda is the proper way, the perfect way of understanding Krishna and Krishna's energies. So Swamate, Achinta Beta Beta. My opinion is that Achinta Beta Beta is the perfect understanding of Krishna and Krishna's energies. And Srila Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada said that there has never been a philosopher like Srila Jiva Goswami. There is no philosopher like Srila Jiva Goswami, nor in the future can we expect any philosopher of the caliber of Srila Jiva Goswami. So if he says, this is my opinion, that's an opinion that we can run with, I think. That Achinta Beta Beta Tattva is the perfect understanding of Krishna. And this is the beauty of Gaudiya Vaishnavism that makes it so wonderful, so special, and to be perfectly frank, in many ways superior to any other religious or philosophical tradition in the world, because it perfectly explores and understands and applies this. And and it's not just armchair philosophy. Achinta Beta Beta is not simply armchair philosophy. I said at the very beginning that it's the foundation of our Krishna consciousness. So let's briefly examine that. And again, we could use the paradigm of Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. Sambandha means understanding the relationship of Krishna and his energies. So this is most perfectly done with Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. So it's Sambandha, it's the foundation of our understanding of Krishna and our understanding of Krishna consciousness. And then Abhideya, what's our practice? Our practice is devotional service, and devotional service is itself based on this understanding that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Devotional service only, the practice, the sadhana only works and only makes sense if we understand our oneness with Krishna. Just like Prabhupada explains about the great qualities of a devotee, the 26 qualities of a devotee, when he's discussing in the Bhagavatam, he says that Krishna is the reservoir of all good qualities. But because the jivas, the living entities, are actually one with Krishna, when their Krishna consciousness is exposed and revealed and reawakened, then naturally all of those good qualities will naturally manifest. So this is the logic of devotional service. Because of this oneness and difference with Krishna, devotional service works and has an effect. And at the stage of prayojana specifically, there's this sense of oneness in love, oneness with Krishna, and also difference from Krishna, because we're his devotees, we're his servants. Actually, I forgot to mention, going back to Abhideya, the practice of devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 5 sadhanas that are the most important, the most potent, so potent that just a little bit of practice of these 5 things, even one of them, can very quickly elevate us to the stage of Bhava Bhakti. And what are these 5 things? Satsanga, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravana, Maturavas, Archamurti, Shraddhaya Sevan. That's Satsanga, associating with devotees. Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy name. Bhagavat Shravan, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing the pastimes of Krishna, as Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva to do. Maturavas, residing in the holy place, and Archamurti, worshiping the deities. So why are these 5 things so powerful, so important? Because these 5 things are ways for the jiva who has forgotten his servitude of Krishna and forgotten his oneness with Krishna to directly touch and directly contact Krishna. Associating with devotees means associating with Krishna through hearing and serving the devotees. Chanting Krishna's holy name is directly touching Krishna. Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita purport that when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal energy are dancing on his tongue. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which is directly Krishna himself manifested in book form. Maturavas, going to the place of Krishna's pastimes. Mathura Vrindavan, Mayapur, or the temple or the temple of Krishna. This is directly associating with Krishna. And Archamurti, the deity form of the Lord, is a chance for the living entities to directly come in contact, to see and to serve, and directly touch even the form of Krishna. Because this touching Krishna reinstates both our oneness with Krishna and also reinstates our position of being Krishna's servant. So this is the potency of this concept. And again, going back to Radhika as the perfect exemplar of all of this, I'll conclude with a extremely beautiful and extremely important verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mother, if you have that verse set up, you could throw it on the screen. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 20, text 52. This is the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing the my mind's
Sikshastakam?
the Sikshastakam, thank you. What a terrible thing to blank out on, describing and elucidating Lord Chaitanya's Sikshastakam verses. So this is a very beautiful verse and very useful here, I think. Nagani apanaduka sabe vanchi tanrasuka amara tatparya moriyadi diyaduka tanrahaila mahashuka se duka mora sukavar. I do not mind. This is Lord Chaitanya speaking Radhika's words, speaking in the mood and personality of Srimati Radharani. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. And in the purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a devotee does not care about his own happiness and distress. He is simply interested in seeing that Krishna is happy. And for that purpose, he engages in various activities. A pure devotee has no way of sensing happiness except by seeing that Krishna is happy in every respect. This is the perfect expression of simultaneously oneness and difference. Radharani is asserting herself as the servant, the maidservant of Krishna. But such a sense of oneness, of identity still exists that she has no conception of her own personal happiness or distress. Her only sense of happiness is in Krishna's happiness. And that if something that apparently causes her distress makes Krishna happy, she feels that is the greatest happiness because of her sense of oneness with Krishna. So this is such a beautiful and frankly very intense description of the mood of Radharani, how her simultaneously oneness and difference from Krishna coalesce into this intense love, which is so amazing and such a inspiration and example for all of us. We can't become Radharani. We can't love Krishna exactly like or to the degree Radharani does, but this is the example that we're one with Krishna. Therefore, Krishna's happiness is our happiness. And if we deny that oneness, that means I'm thinking of my happiness first. So we have the duality that I am part and parcel. I have my own individual existence, and Krishna has his own individual existence, and I am part and parcel of Krishna, and I am this eternal servant of Krishna. And at the same time, we are one. He is the whole, and I am the part. And therefore, my happiness, my perfection lies in pleasing Krishna himself. So this is the perfect conclusion and understanding of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If there's any questions or comments, we can discuss. Anyone, anything?
Hare Krishna, Acharya Prabhu. I really appreciate. I guess I do have a question, but first an appreciation for how nicely this subject of the duality and oneness with Krishna is there. And I liked in the beginning you said how we, the more we learn about Krishna, the more we'll know about him. Like this is an opportunity to learn about the supreme person that we worship. I found that very helpful. Thank you.
To know him is to love him, as the common saying goes.
Yes. So thank you. This class is very helpful in that regard for me. Going back to the I know this was just a kind of a small portion of the class, but you were referring to the line of Madhvacharya, the Sampradaya, and we consider ourselves kind of coming from that line, right? I know Lord Chaitanya incorporated aspects of all the different Sampradayas, but specifically we're at least I've heard this, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Yes.
Is there any particular reason why, I guess, that, things like you're saying with the tilak or the emphasis on kind of this, sacrifice and, but not necessarily in conjugal love or the intimate relationship with Krishna. Why we wouldn't align ourselves maybe with a different Sampradaya and why Madhvacharya Sampradaya so much?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've heard that it was due to his appreciation and recognition of his strength of defeating Mayavad philosophy, and because that the presence of that destroys any chance for devotional service. So I've heard before, although I don't have a specific reference, that he chose to appear and take initiation in that line because of that respect for Madhvacharya. Then why did Ishwara Puri appear in that line, and what's his name, Madhavendra Puri also chose to appear in that line? So is it just because there were and Madhavendra Puri and Ishwara Puri both were, even in the Madhva line, were starting to reintroduce the intimacy of Vraja Prem, of the devotional service of the Brijavasis, although it was maybe not traditionally part of the Madhva line. Madhavendra Puri and Ishwara Puri were both appreciators of that and starting to reintroduce it. So all in all, why it happened like that exactly, I can't say, but those are some of the factors. But as members of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya, we can also remember, as you mentioned, that Lord Chaitanya took items from all four sampradayas. And in a very real sense, although we are part of the Madhva line and we offer all respect to that line, it's also true that the Gaudiya line is itself within that a unique manifestation, which is distinct, for example, from other branches of the Madhva line that are still existing to this day. So exactly how all those things came together to influence Lord Chaitanya's choice, I'm not exactly sure, but those are some of the different ideas about it, I would say. Does that make any sense, or does that help at all?
Yes.
And
yes, thank you.
I actually wish I had it here with me. I don't want to take the time to look for it, but in his what is it? There's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, what's the book? Navadvip Parikrama or Navadvip Mahatmya. He describes how he took two items from each of the four sampradayas in particular. And the two items from Madhvacharya was that defeating Mayavad philosophy and establishing the jiva as the servant of Krishna. And then from other sampradayas, he took different things. Vraja Prem, the mood of the gopis from, I think, the Nimbarka Sampradaya and others. I can't remember all the details right now. But so that's it. We're also, you might even say, I'm only being halfway facetious here, that we're simultaneously one with and different from the Madhva Sampradaya.
Yes, thank you.
Does that help at all?
It does. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, I had a comment, but I want somebody else to go first.
Okay. You're a senior devotee. You don't have to wait on everyone else. Go ahead.
When you're talking about part and parcel,
Yes.
we are part and parcel of Krishna, and you gave all the example. And so I was remembering listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. How about if your finger is cut off and then it's totally useless? Because it's not, but maybe you want to tell. Anyway, I just want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, Prabhupada made that point in today's purport. Let me see if I could quickly find that. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving services of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. So Prabhupada said this many times, that if you cut off a finger or cut off a hand from the body, you look at it and you say, yes, it's a finger or it's a hand. It looks like a hand, but it has no, what did Prabhupada say, no efficiency of the hand. It doesn't have the activities or the potency of the hand because it's cut off. So we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're one with Krishna. We're, in that sense, like a limb of Krishna or a fragment of Krishna's energy. But when we're cut off, we look like a person, but we're actually missing out on the real expression of our personhood. Just like the hand that's cut off, it looks like a hand, but it has no efficiency of the hand unless it's reattached and can then function as a hand as part of the body. So that's a nice example that Prabhupada used, as you mentioned, and in today's purport. And many times he would use that if you cut off the hand, it looks like a hand, but it can't act as a hand. You can cut off the feet, but the feet aren't going to walk anywhere if you cut them off. But if they're attached, then they have the full potency of the feet. Or even last week's class, like I was talking about the udarendriyanam, the belly and the senses. That the senses, if they deny their connection to the belly, then they lose their potency, they lose their ability. And if they feed the belly, then automatically all the senses become strengthened. Or as like was quoted in yesterday's verse also, in yesterday's class also was quoted that bhakti parishanubhava viraktir anyatra sha, that just like when you're eating, then all the senses are automatically nourished. When you're eating, you get nourishment, you get your hunger is appeased and your body is strengthened and your hunger goes away. So just like when you serve Krishna, when you understand your position in relation to Krishna, then based on this achinta beta beta tattva, then when you serve Krishna, you're also nourished. You also get realization of Krishna. You also get detachment from this material world. You also get full realization. It's all coming from that. Is that all right? Is that what you were referring to, Mother?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class. I really liked how deeply you went over the subject of oneness. So I really like the example of Yamuna Tat. So it is so how we can connect to Krishna's spiritual energy and we can go to the material energy. So
Yeah.
This example will help me remember this, what oneness means.
Yeah, Prabhupada would discuss that quite often, how at the ocean, there's the shore, the dividing line between the ocean and the land, and how that marginal area can be covered by water or it can be dry, exposed. So we're like that. Yeah, that's a nice example that Prabhupada would often use. And that's tatashta. Tata means line.
So this is the example for Achintya Veda Veda, right? This is
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Anything else? Any announcements?
Couple quick announcements. I think breaking Ekadasi is by 10:30 today. So if you haven't done so already, you have another hour and a half. Also Sunday feast this evening, starts at 4:30. I hope to see you all there. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody for attending. I appreciate your kindly listening. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha,
Vaishnava